gums at each other any chance they get. The fight clock is brought to you by Modelo. One of the greatest knockouts you'll ever see! It's time!
For you to sit back, relax, and listen to a complete and fucking utter armchair expert give his completely and utterly useless opinions on the one hell of an amazing sport that is MMA. G'day guys, here we are, the first card and podcast of 2024, and I'm just going to be honest, it is going to be a short one, because I'm not going to be doing a card recap of UFC 296, given I already did that in the New Year's Eve podcast. I'm really only going to be talking about UFC 297 and also some other rumours and other stuff that I might have forgotten to talk about. And when I say UFC 297, let's be honest, I'm really only going to be talking about Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, because that's the fight, obviously, for the middleweight title, which Sean Strickland currently holds. Will he come the end of this weekend? Who knows? Dricus is definitely a very formidable opponent. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But of course, that's not it, because Sean Strickland definitely made some headlines at the UFC 297 press conference when he basically went toe-to-toe with a reporter and questioned a reporter who asked a question he didn't like and questioned his political views and said he's a cancer and he elected Justin Trudeau and, you know, you're what's wrong with the world, you are an infection. It's like, God, you know, whether you agree with him or not, and I'm not going to say I do or don't, because, you know, this is in the space for political views, you got to admit it's funny. Like, just those sort of things, you know, such an outlandish thing to say that you wouldn't really expect. And, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of just, you know, getting used to what Sean Strickland is. And, you know, now that he's champion and in the bigger spotlight, and I guess some people probably don't know how to handle it, but look, I'll be honest, you know, they're advertising UFC 297 as being stacked. It's not really. Other than, you know, Sean Strickland and the female fight, there's really nothing on it that's, you know, gonna, you know, draw eyebrows or anything. You know, if it was the sole card, it probably wouldn't do many pay-per-view buys. But yeah, man, I can't wait for this particular fight, because I know, given their given the build-up, which I think I may have alluded to in the last podcast, where, you know, at UFC 296, Sean and Dricus were there. They had him sitting in the stands close to each other, and they had a bit of an altercation, a bit of a fracas in the stands. You know, it's gotten heated. You know, they're getting under each other's skins, so it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens fight night, of course. I do need to update the socials with some of those press conference posts, because, you know, we obviously, if you don't know, obviously we're on Instagram and Twitter at MMA Quick Chat, and we retweet / repost all of the UFC's content to, well, obviously just have it on Twitter. There's no highlights on Twitter, but on Instagram we make highlights now for every card, so people can go back and look at the stories and the build up to and the fights for every individual card in our highlights. So if you don't follow us on Instagram and or Twitter, and you have either of them, be sure to do that. But yes, don't quite know what's going to come of this fight, but it is definitely going to be a very interesting one, and hopefully a scrap, because as we know, a lot of people probably doubted Sean going into the Izzy fight, but he just put on an absolute clinic in, I guess, quote unquote enemy territory, and beat the champ in, like quote unquote enemy territory, like I said. But yeah, put on an absolute clinic from start to finish. Outboxed Izzy for basically 5 rounds, and showed that he's not someone to be messed with. Will he be a long-term champion? Who knows? Like I said, he'll have to get through Dricus, who is in himself. That would be in itself. That wouldn't be grammatically correct. But who is himself a formidable opponent, or a formidable opponent in itself, or himself. I don't know. Bloody going through a bloody midway grammar lesson through the podcasts here. I guess I'm just trying to stall for time to get a somewhat decently decent length episode out. But will Sean be champion come the end of UFC 297 in Toronto, Canada, which I didn't also mention. It is in Canada. Who knows? He'll of course have to go through Dricus. And will he be a long-term champ after that? I guess, again, who knows? But he definitely showed himself to be the real deal and not someone to mess with. And, with his personality, he could draw money. Who knows? He could be another quirky personality, one of those guys that people can't stop talking about, like, your Suga Seans, your Izzy's to some extent, Volk even. It'll be really interesting to see where Sean Strickland goes, even beyond this fight. I have to say I've grown to like him, even though he talks a bit of shit. He's still humble, and I saw him on Theo Von's podcast, breaking down emotionally, and because of his past childhood and all that sort of stuff. And I respect any man who's able to do that. Because really it takes a lot to admit to your demons, especially in a public setting like that. And if a tough guy, I guess, in inverted commas, like him can do it, then that's got to surely set a precedent for other people. I hope all the best for him. I definitely hope he wins on Saturday/Sunday, if you're in Australia like I am. And I hope, he goes on to all the good fortune in the world, because he most certainly deserves it. But anyway, guys, that's enough rambling from me. And when we come back, again, this will just be a short one. A bit of talk about the upcoming cards and some rumours and stuff that have come across my bow since I did the last podcast. But all that and more when I come back. So, as I said, UFC 297 isn't really all that stacked, but we definitely do have a couple of months of good fight cards coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, UFC 298. We've got... Where is UFC 298? Hang on, I swear I saw... it on the poster, where it is. Oh, it's in Texas at the Honda Center. Oh no, that's not Texas. That's the California. Sorry, I was thinking of the Toyota Center in Texas, in Houston, Texas. No, it's in California. Sorry, UFC 298 in California. We have Volk versus Topuria, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. The fight that couldn't get made the first time, we're doing it the second time around on UFC 298. Henry Cejudo makes his return at UFC 298 against Merab. I don't even want to try and pronounce his last name. Merab in the bantamweight division. And I believe Bam Bam also, I could be wrong, but I believe Bam Bam also makes his return on this card. Let's actually just have a look. Where's the UFC website? Oh, I need the UFC website. There you go. Because they obviously have everything. Oh, that's a good picture. Yeah, this is wow. This is Justin Tafa, another New Zealand boy fighting on the card. They don't have. Hang on. I think you can filter between it, can't you? That's odd. That's odd. Only. Okay. Well, yeah. No, I was pretty certain that Bam Bam was supposed to be on UFC 298, but I might be wrong. But yeah, that's certainly looking like a stacked card. And then, of course, we've got UFC 299 at the in Miami. I did think it was in Miami at the Kaseya Center, or Kaseya, I don't know how you pronounce it. Of course, Suga Sean O'Malley takes on Marlon Vera. Dustin the Diamond Poirier is on the card, UFC 299. And also all RDAs on it too, Rafael Dos Anjos. Jack Della Maddalena's on it, Peter Yan's on it. But I do believe, it's not written down on here, could possibly be a prelim fight. That might be why I might not be able to find it, but it was announced. Oh yeah, I can't. Did I mention Peter Yan was going to be on it? Oh no, there you go. Yes, Peter Yan's going to be on. Peter Yan's going to be on the card too. That's going to be interesting. But it is on here. I can confirm. MVP Michael Venom Page makes his UFC debut at UFC 299 against Kevin Holland in the. Oh God, you'll have to forgive me. I'm not sure what weight division he's at. Welterweight. Okay, so he's at 170. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Oh, Leon Edwards, look out. But, yeah, MVP. Of course, Dana announced at the end of UFC 296 that he had in fact signed with the UFC, the former Bellator fighter from England, arguably Bellator's most favourite fighter. I did allude to it, I believe, in one of the previous podcasts that there were rumours of him signing, and Dana confirmed it after UFC 296. I guess with the Bellator acquisition, he decided to move on to bigger and better pastures, and man, that's going to be interesting. I can already see them trying to do him versus Leon Edwards eventually in England. That is going to be huge. But then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have the granddaddy of them all, UFC 300, which I am going to look up just to make sure I don't get wrong, but Dana has announced a couple of fights for UFC 300, which, of course, is at the home of the UFC, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Wei Lee's on it. Yuri's on it. Hang on a second. UFC 300. Okay. Well, they haven't updated it. Charles Oliveira's on it. Yeah, Yuri's on it, as I said. Aljo's coming back on it. Bo Nichols on it. Ooh, Cody Garbrandt's on. Bro, this is shaping up to be a good card. Yeah, they're letting Jim Miller retire on it. But, ladies and gentlemen, it was just announced the other day, and I think I posted it on the socials. The BMF title will be on the line at 155 pounds. The lightweight division, of course. Between, of course, Justin the Highlight Gaethje and Max Blessed Holloway. Whoa. So Volk first goes up to 155 to fight Islam, and now Max Holloway does it. Wow, this is shaping up to be a very good card indeed. Not quite the star-studded card that we might have hoped for yet. Izzy seems to still want to be involved in UFC 300. Whether or not that'll happen, who knows? But it's certainly shaping up to be very stacked indeed. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, we'll just end it off with this. The rumour mill in MMA never subsides. Of course, we first have the basically never-ending rumour for the last 2 years of when Conor's going to come back. It is now rumoured to be June, apparently, at UFC 302 against Michael Chandler. He made a drunken video coming out saying it's going to be at 185. I don't think it'll probably be 170 for their, I guess, Ultimate Fighter clash. Too late, obviously. Yeah, look, let's see what happens on that. As I think I might have said in the last podcast, Dana came out and said that he and Conor are talking, so let's see what comes of that. I do definitely hope Conor makes a comeback, because I'd like to, of course, cover a fight of his on this podcast before he rides off into the sunset, as he should. But yeah, who knows what will come of that. But the second rumour I did want to talk about, and look, I've talked about this extensively too, but I did hear it said a couple of days ago on social media that there is murmurings that UFC brass could want Brock Lesnar to come out of retirement for one last big fight at UFC 300. I don't think it would happen. I, of course, would love if it happened, because I would love to, one, watch a Lesnar fight live, which I've never done. Obviously not live as in being there, but, live on pay-per-view. But two, also be able to cover it on this podcast, and then, who knows, maybe do a career retrospective. Would be good for him to also get to 10 fights too, before he, hangs it up and either goes back to wrestling full-time for however much time he's got left doing that, or just goes back to being Cowboy Farmer Brock. And speaking of which, God, the third reason would be Cowboy Brock at a UFC presser would just be awesome, honestly. Especially the way he's been chatty lately, I guess, sort of more, revealing of himself, willing to sort of be himself more. That would be awesome just to see that as well. But look, whether or not it happens, I don't know. If it happens, who's it against? There's a lot of talk that it might be Tom Aspinall, given he's basically looking for a fight before John Jones comes back. If Jones was not injured, there's a good chance that it would probably be him, because that's been a big talking point for the last, I don't know how long. John Jones versus Brock Lesnar. But of course, sadly, he is injured, and probably if it ever was to happen, probably the only card Brock would come back for would be UFC 300. So that probably wouldn't happen. My only thought really is Stipe. Stipe would be the only one you'd be able to do it against, really. Two wrestlers, roughly the same age. Good legacy fight. He was also one of the people Brock called out in that infamous DC push call out. If it's not going to be DC, which it obviously won't be, that history just writes itself, doesn't it? I don't think it will happen, because Brock is apparently rumoured to also be coming back to wrestling pretty soon. So, You wouldn't think he'd be able to juggle them both, but I would also love for it to happen deep down, not going to lie. And I guess that's just a let's wait and see. But anyway, guys, with the intro, this podcast is probably going to be about 20 minutes, 21 minutes. It's getting to the 20-minute mark now where I ended off. But anyway, as always, I hope you enjoy this fight wherever you end up watching it. I'm probably going to watch it at my local pub for the last time for a couple of months because it's closing. But yeah, nonetheless, I do hope you enjoy it wherever you are watching it. And till the next one, as always, catches.